Johnny is one of the most misunderstood human beings on the planet.
There was interest in him because he was so attractive, but he wanted to fight the beefcake image.
Don't call me sport, all right? I hate that.
He's one of the only actors around at the moment who is willing to take huge risks.
His choices are wonderful, but I'm sure he drives his agents crazy.
Not sure I deserve that.
He doesn't take garbage from anybody.
Getting married soon? Are you gonna change your underwear tomorrow?
He threw away all the rule books and just did what he wanted to do. He's created his perfect world.
Johnny Depp, now on Biography.
He's a character unique in modern movies. The swaggering, staggering pirate captain, Jack Sparrow.
Captain Sparrow!
Elizabeth, you know, these clothes do not flatter you at all. It should be a dress or nothing. I happen to have no dress in my cabin.
It's a role that turned Johnny Depp, one of the screen's most unpredictable and uncompromising actors, into a superstar. Thanks to 2003's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Not sure I deserve that.
And its 2006 sequel, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
How much do you know about Davy Jones? You owe me your soul.
He's kind of done it his way, do you know what I mean? He's very courageous. He really has chosen his own path. He's got integrity and he's stuck to it. He's gone down the road he wanted to take and not one that somebody else tried to shove him down.
It's a fine goal, to be sure.
I don't think there's very many American actors that we have that has that kind of range of potential to do so many different things.
Johnny Depp is so beautiful, and yet he's a character actor, which you completely don't expect. I think he might be a genius. He morphs from film to film, which is something that I think everybody tries to do and very few people do, but he also manages to maintain, instead of just having that character on the surface, he always puts incredible warmth and emotion behind it.
We're about to embark on quite a journey.
He doesn't make choices based on money. He doesn't make choices based on fame. It's all about the work.
We don't have a permit. Run!
Look at the disparate kinds of roles that he's chosen. It's an amazing career.
Unpredictable and uncompromising, Depp has earned comparisons to Marlon Brando and James Dean.
Don't call me sport, all right? I hate that.
But like those earlier Hollywood outsiders, success would come with a reputation at times for eccentricity and rebellion.
What you see on the screen is Johnny Depp. He's iconoclastic, meaning he doesn't take garbage from anybody.
When are you guys getting married? Getting married soon? Johnny! Are you gonna change your underwear tomorrow?
Johnny is one of the most misunderstood human beings on the planet. He's one of the most gentle, thoughtful, intelligent, bright young men around.
Describe myself? Oh, that we'd be here for a long time, I think. Because I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Despite his movie idol looks, Depp is always identified with the outcast and misunderstood ever since his difficult childhood. He was born John Christopher Depp II in Owensboro, Kentucky on June 9th, 1963. 7 years later, his family headed south to Miramar, Florida, where Johnny's mother, Betty Sue, found work as a waitress. In nearby Hollandale Beach, his father, John, was employed as a civil engineer.
Johnny Depp was born into a family that I guess could be accurately described as mildly dysfunctional. It was parents and 4 children. They moved around a lot.
In Miramar, Johnny lived in a series of houses, apartments, and sometimes motels. The one constant in Johnny's transient lifestyle was his family.
He loves his family. He's very close to his people and very loyal to them.
They moved from place to place looking for better opportunities and a better life for the family. But in retrospect, it just drove a wedge into the family and made it more awkward, made tensions grow and simmer.
Johnny was part Cherokee and proud of his Native American heritage. He was fiercely imaginative, but had strange interests. like a fascination with notorious 19th century serial killer Jack the Ripper.
I was always sort of attracted to things like things on the kind of darker side, I suppose, especially when I was very, very young.
What I come away with always with Johnny is his curiosity, his seeing things not as they appear to be, but as they really are. And I think even as a kid he had that. In other words, that's what it appears to be, but that's what it is. And it takes a special kind of sensitive child to see that, to have that.
Johnny dreamed of being Bruce Lee, or the first white Harlem Globetrotter, and imitated Evel Knievel's stunts on his bicycle.
He got into the same kind of trouble that most kids in that situation do. They find that the crowd that they can gain acceptance in is always the one that's populated with the most misfits, people like himself. And so, you know, vandalism and drinking and everything.
But gradually, Johnny found a focus in music, thanks to his loving and supportive mother.
She was very inspirational to Johnny Depp. She was responsible for him having his first guitar. She saved up and bought him a guitar for $25 when he was 12 years old and encouraged him to march to his own beat.
He used to practice in his garage day and night. His idol was Eddie Van Halen, and in fact mimicked his guitar playing techniques and at times dressed like him. A lot of girls were after him and were interested in him, but he was so focused on music and playing guitar and becoming a rock star that all the girl thing and the school thing, it was all secondary to him.
Though Johnny didn't care for school, his older brother Dan taught him to appreciate the works of nonconformist writers.
His brother Dan introduced him to the beat poets and beat writers like Jack Kerouac and Ginsberg, and also the music of Bob Dylan, and got him to listen to soundtracks like A Clockwork Orange, and all of a sudden Johnny Depp started to feel the cool of that. It attracted him in a way that built the character of an eccentric, cool guy.
But Johnny was shaken out of his fantasy when his parents told him they were getting a divorce. Frustrated and angry, the restless 16-year-old dropped out of high school. He struggled to support himself, pumping gas and playing in bars with his band, The Kids.
They played originals and cover tunes by groups like The Police, The Kinks, The Clash. They were a rock and roll / punk type of a group, and their musical mixture was really accepted by crowds. They played in several different venues across Hollywood and Hallandale, Florida, and they usually packed them in, which made them a real commodity to club owners who could, you know, make their overhead knowing they'd put a band in that would get it done.
In 1983, Johnny met 25-year-old makeup artist Lori Ann Allison. The love-struck 20-year-old was eager to give his life a sense of home and family, and he impulsively proposed to Lori. Months later, the pair married and hit the road, along with Johnny's band, The Kids, who'd worked their way up from dingy bars.
They opened for Iggy Pop. They opened for the B-52s at the time. Then they decided that, wow, we're getting gigs, and it's time to head to LA and see if we can't get a record deal.
But competition in LA was stiff, and the band bombed. With nowhere to go, Johnny and Lori put down roots in Hollywood. But tensions between the couple grew as they found themselves living below the poverty line in seedy Hollywood apartments. Johnny took a telemarketing job selling pens.
That job is sort of like my first training as an actor, really, because, you know, if you make these calls and people hang up on you, you know, it was interesting. You'd start playing different characters on the telephone because you got bored. So you'd start playing different characters, you know, and you'd come up with different names and different voices and stuff like that. And it was actually turned out to be kind of fun.
But through Lori, Johnny met rising actor Nicolas Cage, nephew of director Francis Ford Coppola, and star of the hit movie Valley Girl. Cage persuaded his down-and-out friend to take a stab at acting.
Johnny Depp was going along and stealing sandwiches out of the 7-Eleven, and he was so broke, and then Nicolas Cage says, why don't you try this? But the shift to acting came purely as a fluke of opportunity, and as he developed as an actor, the sense of being a musician lost its sort of allure, because all of a sudden he realized he didn't actually have the passion for music to make it a career, to make it a job, where he did with acting.
In 1984, 20-year-old Johnny Depp gave his first major audition as an actor for Wes Craven, director of the horror hit The Hills Have Eyes. Craven was now casting his latest movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
We were looking actually for a group of teenagers that were sort of the kids from next door, and we needed a boyfriend for Heather Langenkamp, who was the central character. And when Johnny first came in, I thought, oh, I don't know about this kid. You know, first of all, he didn't have any experience. He was in town, I think, with his band. And he didn't look like the kid next door, but there was something about him that was, I don't know, just totally different, you know. So I didn't cast him at first. And I happened to have my daughter, at that time she was 13, watching the casting session. So I went home and we were going through all the pictures, and I said, I don't know, what about these guys, and I went through all these very handsome, you know, sort of jock types that I thought teenage girls would like. And she says, Dad, Johnny Depp. And it wasn't even a name that was known whatsoever. I said, well, who was he? Which one was he? And it's like, she points out Johnny Depp's picture. She says, I said, doesn't he look kind of like sickly? He's kind of pale. Kind of. She says, he's dreamy. You know. And I just looked in her face and said, okay, cast Depp. That was it.
Johnny had a small supporting role as one of the doomed teens murdered in their dreams by boogeyman Freddy Krueger. But the scariest thing for Johnny was facing a camera for the first time.
I was shocked at Wes Craven and Annette Benson, the casting director and the director, for taking such a chance on this guy who was totally green. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't know lights and like marks, you know, camera position. I was clueless.
He was really nervous. You could see his hand shaking, and he wanted very much to do it really, really right, but he was afraid that he would be terrible on screen. I kept telling him, no, you're looking very natural, you're looking great. The fact was that very quickly he was doing things in the first or second take perfectly well, and he was bringing a real quality to the film.
When Nightmare on Elm Street opened, Johnny's fears disappeared. The film was a huge hit, and the novice actor got his first taste of fame.
With A Nightmare on Elm Street, he didn't have a lot to do or to say, but he's in a memorable role. He's this good-looking kid lying on a bed who gets swallowed by his bed. And it's memorable because no one had seen that in a film before. And I think it's also memorable because no one had really seen someone who looked like Johnny Depp. Yeah, sure, he was good-looking, like most Hollywood actors, but he was part Native American, part something else that you couldn't figure out. And he had a really magnetic look that the screen grabbed.
After he starred on Nightmare on Elm Street, he came back to South Florida and actually was so proud of having done Nightmare on Elm Street that he would go to the movie theaters and let people see him and actually freak people out by allowing them to see the movie and then see the starring actor in the same movie theater. And he certainly was proud of that movie, and we were all proud of him.
But Johnny was still struggling to pay the rent, and when offered a starring part in the low-budget comedy Private Resort, he had no choice but to take the money.
Private Resort was a terrible little teen comedy. It's teen sex romp, and it boasts one of the only nude scenes he's ever done. And this is a guy who had no money. I mean, he was living with Nicolas Cage for a while, and he was actually like taking Mexican money that Nicolas Cage had and going and changing it into American money for a sandwich. This guy was broke.
By 1985, Johnny Depp's shaky marriage to Lori Allison had run its course, and the pair agreed to an amicable divorce. But Johnny still longed for a family of his own, and months later, after he met a beautiful rising actress named Sherilyn Fenn, Depp once again proposed.
The interesting thing about Johnny is when he was going with a woman, he was totally committed to that relationship, always.
He fell in love with one and stuck with one, and obviously fell in love easily.
The newly engaged actor also scored a meaty supporting part in director Oliver Stone's Vietnam drama, Platoon. But before shooting began, Johnny was pushed to his physical and emotional limits.
I had him camping out all night for 2 weeks in the Philippines. Dale Dye from the Marine Corps.
They found themselves up on a jungle mountaintop in southern Luzon in the Philippines, where there was absolutely no civilian contact allowed whatsoever. They were deep in the jungle. And no agents, no trailers, no catering, no nothing. They did what I told them to do, or they would die.
Oliver Stone scared the hell out of him because of how intense Oliver Stone is and how personal this story was, and how when he was working in the Philippines on this movie for months, he had to keep telling himself that Oliver Stone, this is stuff that he actually lived through and not just pretended to.
Johnny was very excited to get this role, and he went and learned some Vietnamese because he acted as a translator in the movie.
Platoon went on to win 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. But much of Johnny's work would never be seen. While tightening the film, Stone left many of Depp's scenes on the cutting room floor.
When Oliver Stone was cutting the movie together, he found that he had a dilemma on his hands, and that the Johnny Depp character was more interesting than the Charlie Sheen character, because Johnny Depp's character could speak Vietnamese. He was an interpreter. So anytime Johnny Depp was on screen in Platoon, the audience would look and say, how does this young American soldier know how to speak Vietnamese? I mean, it's amazing. And so Oliver Stone had to cut back Johnny Depp's part to save the flow of the movie. So when Johnny Depp saw the movie and said, where's all my stuff, you know?
It was heartbreaking for Johnny at the time because Platoon was a giant film and everyone in young Hollywood wanted to be a part of it. And Johnny was just starting out, and I think he wanted to make a mark with that film, and he'd poured so much into it, and then to have it be cut out and have no one see how much effort you put into something was heartbreaking. And I think he knew it was stalling his career.
Johnny's relationship with Sherilyn Fenn was another casualty of his time away. And once again, Depp was broke. But the struggling actor refused to accept just any part. He even turned down a chance to audition for a lead on a cop TV show for the new Fox network.
There was interest in him because he was so attractive, but he wanted to fight the beefcake image.
The show was called 21 Jump Street. Production had already started on the drama about young cops going undercover in high school, when producer Stephen J. Cannell realized he'd made a key mistake in casting. When Johnny was reapproached, he reluctantly agreed to audition.
We're shooting up in Vancouver, and we were starting to get dailies back with this actor, and all the other cast looked really right to us, but this one guy that was playing Hanson, we were going, oh boy, I don't know that he's gay. I don't know that he's got the flavor of what we're trying to get. So we had the weekend and plus 4 days to recast the show. So we went back to all the other actors that had been on our list before. And I directed the tests. We did them over at, put them all on film, did it over at KTTV, which was the Fox affiliate here in LA. And when we got it all together and cut it, Johnny was just the guy. I mean, there was no doubt. I mean, he had such a charisma about him and such a sexuality, and he was like so interesting to look at, and he was a marvelous actor. Very young with very little film experience, but had tremendous chops even back then.
Depp was offered the part of Tom Hansen and signed a 5-year contract.
Johnny was really talked into doing 21 Jump Street. First of all, he needed the work, and if you need the work and you need the money, you need it, and you just do it. But he also thought that he could make something of this character. And he did add a lot of layers to his character, but I think, TV is TV, and 21 Jump Street was really meant for teens. And I think that the producers of the show sort of wanted more stock characters. They didn't want any weirdness in there. They didn't want a lot of acting. They wanted a lot of smoldering.
Johnny hoped the show wouldn't last, but when 21 Jump Street premiered on April 12, 1987, it was an instant hit with teen audiences.
In the last 6 weeks, there have been 15 459s in the same area, all between 4 and 6 a.m. I thought for sure Kenny Weckerly was involved in drugs, but now it looks more like a burglary ring.
But then where does this Waxer guy fit in?
I still think we should pick Kenny up and book him. Aoki and I can make a pretty good case. Kenny!
The show dealt with topical issues like AIDS, teen pregnancy, and drug abuse. But young viewers were most fascinated by the smoldering unknown playing Detective Tom Hansen.
Very quickly, kids were watching this show in huge numbers, and then we had, on top of that, this great guy.
Johnny Depp was one of the few guys who made his street, thuggish, tough, rebellious James Dean type characters seem authentic. And Johnny had this hurt, wounded, sensitive, authentic side to him that teen girls just went nutso for. And the next thing he knew is almost as soon as he got onto the show and started playing this character, he was on the cover of Tiger Beat and Young Miss magazine.
This is police business. Let's roll.
Johnny was flooded with 10,000 fan letters a month, and Fox had its first hit.
It was an enormous success right away. And there, all of a sudden, you have a guy who's, who's used to having no money at all and being thrown out of his apartments and everything, to making $1,600 a week and getting fine tables in restaurants and everybody knowing who he was. And it was quite. But for a guy like Johnny Depp, it was both intoxicating and extremely disturbing.
Hungry to capitalize on his appeal, the network's PR department made sure Depp hit the cover of every teen magazine.
After this, I'm going to be bigger than Paul Newman.
They should send him a huge, Christmas present every year, because he basically turned the lights on at Fox.
Within weeks of 21 Jump Street's premiere, the hit show was retooled to showcase its young breakout star, Johnny Depp.
He started off being very naive, and very quickly we realized that Johnny was too hip for that role. So we started to morph him almost immediately and made him a much cooler, much hipper guy.
For the next 2 years, Johnny's fame kept expanding, and so did his bank account. But after his years of financial struggle, Depp was generous with his success. The actor donated his time to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he moved his devoted mother to Vancouver, where the show filmed. He even had her name, Betty Sue, tattooed on his arm.
Here he was, going from basically obscurity to becoming like the teen idol of America, and being only 22, 23 years old. He was very adult in a lot of ways in terms of where he wanted to go, and not letting insanity of, of the moment take him. And so I think you have to look to his own upbringing, his mom, for that.
But by 1989, after 2 years on 21 Jump Street, Johnny was dying to change his address.
I'll tell you what scared me back then. I was sort of witness to the power of the studio, and I saw these people building this image and selling it, and it had nothing to do with me, and it was frightening because it was almost impossible to reverse it.
He would have much preferred to be on something darker and edgier, I think, that was more sophisticated. I never thought Johnny saw how good it was, because he really disdained the show.
He felt like a product. He felt like a piece of meat. And, he saw himself on teen magazines, and he said, I don't think Laurence Olivier ever started this way.
Johnny found creative ways to protest his situation, like ceremonially burning his underpants on the set.
He made it pretty well known that he didn't want to be on the show. He didn't like the show. And yet, even in spite of that, he never misbehaved. I mean, yeah, little things, I remember once he came to the set dressed like Elton John. He had a powdered wig on and platform shoes, and Mario Van Peebles was directing the episode, who's a friend of mine, and Mario called me. I was like, hey, get this guy out of this powdered wig. What am I going to do? Johnny used to do stuff like that, which was sort of more of a prank. And I was fiscally at risk for every episode. And he could have just killed me if he'd wanted to. And Johnny never did. And whatever misbehaving was going on wasn't of a nature that was costly or in any way destructive to the manufacturing of the show, for which I am eternally grateful.
Off the set, Johnny refused to play the part of a teen idol. He dressed in rags, smoked like a chimney, and tearfully claimed to be deathly afraid of clowns and talk show host John Davidson.
The most common thing that they try to label you as rebel or bad boy or something, one of those horrible, silly names, and it's just such a joke, I mean, every young actor who's come out, they try and say, oh, he's a bad boy. How can you, you know, you can't do that. It's impossible to know a person just by looking at him.
Johnny still had 3 long years left on his contract. For the creatively adventurous actor, it seemed like a prison sentence, and Johnny Depp couldn't wait to break out.
21 Jump Street was shot in Vancouver, which was kind of sort of a lonely thing for him because he didn't have anybody but the crew and fans around him, so he would have his family brought to stay with him at times, and his childhood friend Sal Jenko would come and stay with him and sort of keep him in line a bit. He also started having run-ins with reporters and with hotel people. It was kind of like a vice kind of tightening around him that yes, but is this what I want?
But although Johnny was frustrated by his work, by 1989, the 26-year-old actor was once again in love. Depp met 17-year-old actress Winona Ryder at a Hollywood movie premiere. Johnny was struck by her beauty, her intelligence, and her bohemian spirit.
Winona is really, really smart. She's interested in the world. Unlike a lot of actors that really can only talk about themselves, she's just so much fun to be with.
Winona's parents were close friends with Allen Ginsberg, one of the beat poets Johnny idolized. He was sure he'd found his soulmate. And eager as ever to settle down, Johnny proposed to Winona after 5 months of dating. He proved his devotion with another tattoo. Winona forever.
He craved marriage, and he craved that stability. He had a great relationship with his mom. He obviously adored women, so he hoped to have this lifestyle with women, and it's not easy in Hollywood.
Paparazzi swarmed over the beautiful, talented couple. Johnny hated the unwanted attention.
They were stalked, they were followed. Every interview they did, they were asked about each other, not about their work.
If Johnny couldn't escape fame, he decided to mock it with his first major film role, Crybaby, director John Waters' spoof of teen rebellion movies. Waters' films often featured transvestites and set new standards in bad taste. He was Johnny's kind of guy.
It was important to me to do something as far away from Jump Street. It was really important to be able to make fun of that image.
Johnny played a juvenile delinquent with a tender heart, opposite Ricky Lake in an appealingly odd cast that included rocker Iggy Pop, former porn star Tracy Lords, and kidnap victim Patricia Hearst. The 26-year-old felt right at home.
He really went out on a limb. I mean, here he was, this kind of teen star that could have done any movie, and he played this kind of ridiculous character that made fun of himself for this very fringe director, John Waters.
Crybaby was a huge shock to all of Hollywood, that Johnny Depp, here this beloved Hollywood heartthrob, would dismiss his teen beloved character and go and work with John Waters, who had a reputation for insanely strange material. It was shocking, and a lot of people thought, well, Johnny is throwing away his career because his fans will hate him starring in Crybaby. And a lot of people on the inside thought, smart move, because he's showing his range before it's too late.
After Crybaby, Johnny completed his 3rd year on 21 Jump Street. But with more film offers coming Depp's way, producer Stephen Cannell was concerned his star wouldn't return for another season.
He says, have you been hearing that I'm going to walk off the show? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I have heard that. And he said, well, you know, I don't want you to worry. He said, I've got a lot of great movie offers, and I sure hope we get canceled, because I want to go off and take these jobs. But I wanted you to know that if we get renewed, I will live up to my contract. How stand-up is that?
Cannell was so impressed by Johnny's willingness to play ball that when the show got picked up, he let him out of his contract to pursue his film career.
When I was in a position to make the choices that I wanted to make, I started making those decisions based on building something that I would be able to leave for my kids, you know, would hopefully be able to watch in 30, 40, 50 years and hopefully, you know, be proud of.
Johnny's first project after Jump Street was Edward Scissorhands, written by Carolyn Thompson for visionary director Tim Burton. The hero was a boy built by a kindly inventor with scissors for hands.
A lot of actors wanted the Edward Scissorhands role, and the studio wanted Burton to look at other people, like Tom Cruise was mentioned as one of the people that they wanted.
Bill Hurt wanted to do it really badly. Robert
Siegel, those people hung out there and owned it and stuff, and he wanted to keep a piece of that, and yet he wanted it to be up to date. He wanted he wanted a smack of the past and the old Sunset Strip of days gone by, and yet be hip. And I think he achieved it.
The Viper Room was the place to hang out for young Hollywood. It was dark, it was small, it was cool, there were great musical acts there.
I know a couple of nights he slept there. He actually, didn't go home and slept there because he wanted to surround himself with it.
On Halloween night, 1993, Johnny was on stage, jamming with his friend Flea, bassist from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He had no idea a tragedy was unfolding just feet away. River Phoenix, the young star of movies like Stand By Me, was in the club. At 1 a.m., Phoenix staggered out onto the street and collapsed.
I got off stage and went out the door, and the paramedics were working on this young man, and I didn't know at the time that it was River.
River Phoenix had overdosed on drugs and died before reaching the hospital. A stunned Johnny shut down the club for 2 weeks and allowed River's grieving fans to set up a makeshift shrine outside. Depp was saddened by the senseless death and enraged by the sensationalized media coverage that surrounded it.
The media wouldn't let not only River rest, but they wouldn't let his family rest.
Johnny's favorite place of escape was now a magnet for ghoulish sightseers and for the paparazzi he despised.
This was just an unfortunate incident, having more to do with the tragedy of River Phoenix's life than Johnny Depp. But because he owned the place, it happened to be, he was tarred with that same sort of media brush.
Once again feeling hounded, Depp channeled his emotions into acting.
Really? Worst film you ever saw? Well, my next one will be better.
In Tim Burton's outrageous biopic, Ed Wood, Johnny gave a funny and tender performance as the notoriously incompetent cross-dressing director of 1950s exploitation films.
All right, everybody, let's get set up for scene 112.
Ed Wood was not a hero. I mean, he was a strange guy who made terrible movies, but he did it with such glee and happiness, and he was just a great character in Hollywood history. And I think that people were thinking at the time, why would Johnny Depp play this guy? What's interesting about him? What's the story? He's a schlocky director. Well, I don't get it. What's there to see here? And I think Johnny just sort of fell in love with the Ed Wood character and just played him to the hilt.
The movie centered on Ed's relationship with his friend and star, an aging, drug-addicted Bela Lugosi, played by Martin Landau.
You will be my slave of law.
My gosh, Bella, how do you do that?
You must be double-jointed. And you must be Hungarian.
Johnny went into that character with hell's bells, and he played that guy without any apology. Absolutely dignified him, and yet at the same time you could laugh at him.
He based it partly on Casey Kasem, the radio personality, because of the delivery, the very upbeat kind of delivery. And I remember speaking to Jim Jarmusch, who directed Johnny Depp in Dead Man, and Jarmusch said that it was very funny because Johnny Depp couldn't let go of that Ed Wood character, and then months after he was finished, they would be sitting in a restaurant, and Johnny Depp would all of a sudden be Ed Wood, and isn't that pad thai fabulous? You know, that in the Ed Wood voice.
We're about to embark on quite a journey. 4 days of hard work.
Johnny relished the chance to again collaborate with Tim Burton on a tale of sympathetic misfits.
They're both unique, and they're both visualists, and they both seem to like very much of the same stuff. They see the world, which is skewed in a certain way, very much the same way.
Okay, and make it a little bigger too if you want. It's like, it's great, you get stuck, let it fall a little bit, and then bring it up. Yeah, exactly.
They're both dreamers and a little bit misfits, and Johnny Depp's one of those actors where Burton doesn't have to explain a lot to him. He gets it. And Johnny Depp actually told me that Tim Burton is one of the few people that if he calls Johnny Depp up and says, "I'd like to do," the answer is yes before it's even told to him what it is he wants him to do.
You want to keep moving. You've got to get through that door. And cut. Perfect. Print it. Let's move on.
Johnny is Tim's screen alter ego, I guess.
I predict your next project will be an outstanding success.
Wow.
He's a very nice guy, Johnny. He shows up. He's very pleasant to work with. He always knows his lines. He knows everybody in the crew. He's unfailingly polite. He's really easy to be around. He's a great guy. And he's a good actor.
And cut. Hey, cops! We don't have a permit. Run!
Johnny also practiced diligently to master the art of walking in high heels.
He's a beautiful man as a man, and that's difficult enough to be on screen with him because he's distractingly beautiful. And then you put him in the hose and everything, and he's got great legs and a beautiful figure, and he looks better in the stuff than you do, and he's in drag.
How long have you been doing this?
Since I was a kid. My mom wanted a girl, so she used to dress me in girly clothing. It just became a habit.
His likability quotient is huge. And with Ed Wood's, when he's wearing a dress, you still love the character that Johnny's playing, because he has a way of reaching out and getting you to accept him.
Take a deep breath. Relax.
The company was shooting at Musso Frank's, and Johnny was wearing a blonde female wig, high heels, a skirt, and an Angora sweater. And he had consternation, to say the least, because he'd heard that Ed Wood's wife was on the set. She walked up to him when they were introduced, and she looked at him, she said, "Just like Ed."
The recovering teen poster boy also got a real kick out of being ugly.
Well, Ed Wood wore dentures, and so we made a set of dentures for him that were just these two canine teeth and no front teeth. Johnny liked the look of not having those teeth, so he would go out to clubs and stuff wearing the missing four front teeth just to have fun with it.
If there's ever a concern with Johnny of making himself attractive, it certainly didn't pop its head in this instance, because wow, I mean, it was just terrific. And right off the bat, I mean, the Johnny Depp that I was talking to in the chair, and the Johnny Depp, the second he popped those teeth in his mouth, he was a whole other guy.
Too offbeat for mainstream moviegoers, Ed Wood was a failure at the box office. But the film earned critical raves and won Johnny's friend, Martin Landau, his first Academy Award.
Johnny was truly pleased that that it was as if he'd won. I wanted him to win it so badly. I mean, Ed Wood's about a relationship. Two disparate guys who have no business being together. They need each other. They wind up really caring about each other. It's an odd love story. And it takes two to tango. I mean, I could only be as good as Johnny was. Johnny deserved much more credit.
By 1994, Johnny Depp's impressive and eclectic body of work was earning comparisons to the career of Marlon Brando.
Johnny Depp has really admired the work of Marlon Brando and James Dean, but he's done something that other actors haven't done. He hasn't, mimicked them. He has taken lessons from them, and he's become a better actor because of it. But he has just realized that if you want to be a great actor, you really have to bring something unique to the role.
31-year-old Johnny was thrilled to work with the elusive Brando himself and the romantic comedy Don Juan DeMarco. The film, co-starring Faye Dunaway, was the gentle story of a man convinced he's the legendary lover Don Juan. It was Johnny's idea to cast Brando as the psychiatrist assigned to counsel his romantically obsessed character. The two actors discovered they shared the same sense of humor, the same contempt for fame, and the same refusal to take themselves seriously.
I think Brando saw in Johnny Depp a guy who was committed but didn't take it seriously. And Brando, his whole life, his opinion was that acting was not something a grown man should do for a living. But did he really feel that way? Can you actually be that good at something if you're not passionately committed to it? And I think Johnny Depp had that same kind of duality in how he approached his work, is this, wow, I'm getting paid to have fun.
One irreverent way Johnny approached the Don Juan character was through his accent.
The choices are always a little like Marlon, idiosyncratic. I mean, I said, how'd you get the accent? And he said he listened to Montalban on Fantasy Island.
But Johnny wasn't just an actor. He was a celebrity, a status he still hated.
A Hollywood lifestyle and being successful in Hollywood does not lend itself to a stable, happy personal life. He was running around a lot, partying a lot, and there wasn't a lot of satisfaction, and he started acting out.
In September 1994, Johnny and his girlfriend, model Kate Moss, checked into Manhattan's Mark Hotel. Late that night, the couple reportedly argued, and as his anger increased, Depp took out his frustrations on the furniture. Security was summoned by another guest, Roger Daltrey, lead singer of The Who, and an old hand at hotel room trashing himself.
Excuse me, come on, 8 o'clock. Back away.
Depp apologized and offered to pay for the damages.
All of a sudden, it's, okay, Mr. Movie Star, I'm in charge now, and the security guard, you know, did a number on him and called the police, and Johnny Depp had to spend the night in jail.
Johnny was sentenced to pay nearly $10,000 to the hotel. A worse punishment was being forced to discuss the incident endlessly in interviews.
I haven't spoken to anyone who's worked with him before who hasn't described him as being very easygoing, a very gentle person. But there have been incidents that have been blown way out of proportion in proportion to what they actually were, that all of a sudden labels him as this guy who tears up hotel rooms.
That was probably a turning point in his life because he realized he'd become a Hollywood cliche. You know, yelling at photographers, trashing a hotel room. What is this? Is this what his life would be like?
Johnny channeled his restless energy into work. In his next film, Nick of Time, he took on a role that he'd struggled to play for years in real life, that of a family man. Depp starred as an accountant whose daughter will be killed if he doesn't help would-be assassins commit a murder. Johnny's passion for family was a key reason he took on the part.
I was very excited at the possibility of playing a father. It's a universal thing to say I would do anything for my family. I would die for my family. I would kill for my family. But to see a person who's actually been put in that position to where you have to make a choice to do that is pretty fascinating.
Months later, Johnny tapped into his Native American roots for his most ambitious creative challenge so far, directing and starring in the drama, The Brave.
The Brave, I think, is one of the most interesting things that Johnny Depp has done. Most successful? Absolutely not. Most, you know, the best thing that he's done? No. But interesting? Absolutely. It's based on a very dark novel by a guy named Gregory MacDonald. And the story is about a Native American man in Arizona who's mired in poverty, mired in alcoholism. And he sells himself into a snuff film so that his family can have the money to get out of this poverty that they live in. Now that, no bundle of laughs, but he was deadly committed to this, Johnny Depp, and he wrote the screenplay with his brother.
Johnny invested his own money in the project. His passionate commitment convinced Marlon Brando to make a cameo appearance. But The Brave debuted at Cannes to blistering reviews, and the film was never released in America.
How dare he try to make this serious film? It was crucified as like he had no right to do it. And I think that really made him bitter.
But that same year, Johnny dazzled critics with another knockout performance. In the fact-based drama Donnie Brasco, Depp played an undercover FBI agent opposite Al Pacino as the mobster he befriends and ultimately brings down. Johnny spent months studying the real-life agent he portrayed. The result was a performance of quiet, extraordinary intensity.
He was able to stand up to Pacino, who, is really a powerful actor. It was peer-to-peer. And at that point I said, wow, this guy he can be on the screen with anybody, and he's got to give them a run for their money.
Now, you've worked with Mr. Marlon Brando and Mr. Al Pacino. Honestly, does that make you a made man in Hollywood?
I don't know about that. It makes me a very lucky man. I know that.
Although Donnie Brasco was a critical favorite, the film was only a modest commercial success. And Johnny's next project, the daringly surreal comedy Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, was an out-and-out box office failure. But Depp loved playing one of his literary heroes, gonzo 1960s journalist Hunter S. Thompson.
She's a waitress about 16 years old. They chopped her damn head off right there in the park.
Ignore this terrible drug. Yeah. Pretend it's not happening.
Fire! My name? I have my attorney. His name is not on that list, but we must have the suite.
Your suite isn't ready yet, but someone was looking for you.
No, we haven't done anything yet. Move!
I can't handle this. This man suffers from a bad heart. But I have plenty of medicine. My name is Dr. Thompson. Prepare a suite at once. We'll be in the bar.
I remember Johnny Depp telling me at the time that only 2 authors had ever made him laugh out loud. One of them was Hunter Thompson. The other was a guy named Terry Southern, who among other things, wrote Dr. Strangelove with Kubrick. And Johnny Depp was extremely respectful of Hunter Thompson because, again, Hunter Thompson is a guy who goes through life on his own terms. And he creates, he reflects, everything is through his own sensibility, on his own terms. And Johnny Depp greatly admired that.
Johnny found a kindred spirit in director and ex-Monty Python member Terry Gilliam, who encouraged spontaneity on the set.
When I came to, the general back alley ambience of the suite was so rotten. How long had I been lying there? What had happened? There was evidence in this room of excessive consumption of almost every type of drug known to civilized man since 1544 AD.
You walk on a set first thing in the morning, and any director who says, why don't we try the lizard tail today? Put the lizard tail on. I thought, oh my God, it's great.
Between film roles, Johnny also found time to indulge in his first creative passion, music.
Johnny's, since he made it as an actor, has worked with several major acts, Shane MacGowan and the Popes, P, Oasis, Iggy Pop. Johnny was a good guitarist, and he was a good slide guitarist, and he was a good backup singer. So I feel that, his energy is what they were after, and his fame couldn't hurt.
Moonlighting as a musician satisfied Johnny's childhood rock star dreams. But his longtime desire to settle down and have a family of his own remained out of reach.
Johnny made for great magazine copy because, every couple of years this guy was getting engaged. Sherilyn Fenn, Jennifer Grey, Winona Ryder, Kate Moss. There was all talk of marriage there, and a few of these girls actually had engagement rings on. And, it's easy to make fun of someone like that, always getting engaged, always the romantic. But at least he wasn't always getting married and getting divorced. And I think the reason he got engaged in the first place was because he was a romantic guy. I mean, you look at Johnny Depp, you look at his work, there's a lot of sensitivity in there. There's a lot of passion. And I think he approaches his love life in the same way. So when he fell for a woman, I think he wanted to get married.
By 1999, Johnny's relationship with model Kate Moss was over, another casualty of separation and celebrity. Depp spent that summer in Paris, filming the occult thriller The Ninth Gate under the direction of Roman Polanski. One night, Johnny saw a beautiful young woman in a bar and struck up a conversation. Vanessa Paradis was a major singing star in France who was just kicking off an acting career. Once again, Johnny threw himself headlong into a passionate romance.
they just clicked right away. They didn't make a big public spectacle of their relationship, and I think they very quietly fell in love in France and formed this bond that made Johnny want to live in France.
Johnny Depp really respects her musical talents and abilities, so much so that Johnny Depp directed one of her music videos and has played guitar on some of her songs. They both had similar lives. They'd grown up and then all of a sudden been thrust into this strange public life that weren't ready for, didn't know what to expect.
After 3 months together, Vanessa became pregnant. Johnny was ecstatic, and in May of 1999, Lily Rose Melody Depp was born in France.
I mean, more than the fact that it's changed me, I think it's revealed me. It's as if I was born that day, because it was really like having some kind of fog lifted from my eyes and suddenly meeting your reason to live. I mean, I know I've smiled and laughed and all that before I became a father, but I don't recall ever feeling it.
The most incredible, loving father you'll ever see. It's made him more aware as to why he's here on the planet.
The new father and his family set up house in a villa in the south of France. Here, Johnny could play with his daughter, walk to a cafe, hold hands with Vanessa, and not be hounded by a pack of paparazzi.
I think that Johnny likes living in France because everyone's so accepting. It's not violent, and there's more of a village feel to it. And he doesn't live in Paris. He lives in the country, actually, in France. And I think he enjoys a simpler life. But this guy is not there that often. He travels all the time. He's always making movies. So I think he tries to spend as much time in a safe, happy, calm environment for his children.
He's gone through a period of very difficult years where the emotions ran high, and he feels now very solid. He feels like he's found personal happiness.
Johnny stayed close to his 3 siblings, who were now also part of his professional life.
They're responsible for various aspects of his career and the machine that's built up around him. His sisters take care of his business. His sister Christy takes care of his business from a PR perspective. And his brother Dan is a writer and a very smart guy, and also co-writer of the only film that Johnny Depp ever wrote and directed himself. So he has a very symbiotic and very close relationship to his brothers and sisters.
But happiness didn't blunt Johnny's edge as an actor. Re-teaming with Tim Burton for the horrific fantasy Sleepy Hollow, Depp played a skittish detective he based, in part, on Angela Lansbury.
The idea of going back into the late 1700s and playing Ichabod Crane was, it's like a dream come true for any actor. Yeah, and to take a sort of what would normally be a kind of stoic sort of leading man type action hero type thing, and yeah, and kind of turn him into a sort of fragile, flawed, sensitive 9-year-old girl in a sense.
He could have really hammed it up and been Mr. Movie Star in this film, and he didn't. He played the character almost like he was a little weird and off, and he wasn't trying to win points by playing this character as heroically, but he won points by playing him interestingly.
There's the cliche of, every director's leading man is a handsomer version of themselves. I think Johnny Depp is that for Tim.
Sleepy Hollow was Depp's biggest commercial hit to date. The actor followed it with a supporting part in the Oscar-nominated romance, Chocolat.
He had a rather small role in Chocolat, and he didn't care. Many stars adore small, showy roles where they can be remembered. Johnny Depp, like every fine actor, doesn't count the role in terms of the length of time, but what it will do for him as an artist.
Pardon, sir. You Dr. Farrell?
Yeah.
I'm Inspector Abelard, assigned to Whitechapel.
In 2001, Johnny Depp brought one of his childhood obsessions to the screen, playing a Cockney, drug-addicted police inspector hunting Jack the Ripper. The project was the gory thriller From Hell.
Throat was cut, but there's no arterial spray on the wall. Rain last night, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
She's dry. She was brought here in a carriage or something. Throat must have been cut in the carriage. Imagine they stopped it just over there or something. Most definitely.
Well, it's a case that I got sort of interested in, fascinated with when I was very, very young, and yeah, I'd say I've read, you know, the majority of stuff on the Ripper case.
I think he's taking more organs this time. Only Polly and Doc Annie were given graves. Only they were disemboweled in such a meticulous fashion. This ain't killing for profit. This is ritual.
Johnny loved making the dark drama, but he was ready to move on to something very different.
I started making decisions based on building something that I would be able to leave for my kids, something that my kids would, kids, grandkids, you know, would hopefully be able to watch.
In 2002, Johnny Depp, proud father, eagerly jumped aboard the Walt Disney Studios adventure epic, Pirates of the Caribbean. It was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, creator of such mainstream Hollywood action hits as Armageddon and Pearl Harbor.
There was so much negative publicity about Pirates of the Caribbean when it was first announced the movie is going to be made, because everyone said, oh, what is Disney doing? They're basing a film on one of their theme park rides. Disney's selling out, Johnny Depp's selling out, it's going to be a bomb.
But although Johnny agreed to star in the family-friendly adventure, he was intent on doing it his way. And some Disney executives panicked when Depp decided to model his weird and wily pirate captain, Jack Sparrow, on Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards.
Apparently there's some sort of high-toned and fancy to do up at the fort, eh? How could it be that two upstanding gentlemen such as yourselves did not merit an invitation?
Someone has to make sure this dock stays off limits to civilians.
It's a fine goal, to be sure. But it seems to me that a ship like that makes this one here a bit superfluous, really.
Oh, the Dauntless is the power in these waters, true enough. But there's no ship that can match the Interceptor for speed.
I've heard of one. It's supposed to be very fast, nigh uncatchable. The Black Pearl.
I thought of pirates, you know, of the 18th century as maybe they were sort of the rock stars of their day, and I thought, who's the greatest rock and roll star that's ever lived? And to me, it's Keith Richards.
Not sure I deserve that.
He's courageous, and very, very few people are. And I mean, with Jack Sparrow, I remember seeing Jack Sparrow for the first time and thinking, what are you doing? And then you watch it, you think, I can't imagine anyone else who would take the risk of playing a character like that, because nobody knew whether it was going to work or not and whether people would accept it or not.
Savvy.
Here you have Jack Sparrow, a pirate, who is not what you think of as a pirate. First of all, he comes off as kind of feminine and odd and charismatic and heroic and all these weird people at the same time. It's just Johnny being Johnny, adding more layers into the film and spicing up the characters he plays.
Last time I was here a grand total of 3 days, all right. Last time, the rum runners used this island as a cache. Came by and I was able to barter passage off. Bring some to thank for that.
That's the secret grand adventure of the infamous Jack Sparrow. He spent 3 days lying on a beach drinking rum.
Welcome to the Caribbean, love.
We were all thinking, is he really going to play it like that? Because I really don't know if it is going to work and how it's all going to go together. And you see it now and you just go, my God, I can't think of another characterization that's been quite like it in actually ever.
Me, I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly.
Johnny turns up and you know, he's doing this fantastic, you know, creation that he's come up with, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just play the swashbuckling straight guy then. You know what I mean? I sort of fell in line with what he was doing, because he had created this guy. He was, you know, the whole, the sea-legged, you know, drunken pirate, and it made my job easier because I was the foil, you know what I mean, and the straight guy to that.
For a young actress to watch that and go, okay, wow, you can be that sort of, in a funny kind of way, single-minded about your characters. I mean, he owns it And I remember him saying, it's the only way I can play it. I don't know how else to play it. This is it. This is all I can imagine. And you think, wow, to imagine that is quite extraordinary. What an imagination.
Wherever we want to go, we go. That's what a ship is, you know. It's not just a keel and a hull and a deck and sails. That's what a ship needs. But what a ship is, what the Black Pearl really is freedom.
To freedom.
To the Black Pearl.
Johnny was just trying to impress his favorite critics, daughter Lily and his baby son Jack, born on April 9th, 2002.
My daughter is absolutely convinced that I'm a pirate. She doesn't ever, it doesn't register that Daddy's an actor, you know, it's just, my dad's a pirate.
Gentlemen, my lady, you will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.
Pirates of the Caribbean leaped beyond industry expectations to become the top-grossing movie of 2003, earning over $300 million in the U.S. alone. 15 years after 21 Jump Street, a new generation of teenage girls fell in love with the actor voted by People magazine to be the sexiest man alive.
For most of Johnny's career, Hollywood has looked at him like the oddball who will add more layers to your film but not necessarily bring audiences into the theater. And Hollywood has always thought, we'd love to work with Johnny, but we need someone who, like a Harrison Ford, we need someone who will bring in people and make money for my film. And that's what's so great about the success of Pirates of the Caribbean, is that he can be interesting and quirky, and he can bring in audiences.
At age 40, his sort of crowning achievement is that he got to do this huge, wonderfully entertaining movie that made a fortune, and he didn't sell out.
Pirates of the Caribbean also earned Johnny Depp his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, a rare honor for a comic role. Johnny was pleased, but hardly seemed crushed when he didn't win.
If the idea is that you gotta win an Oscar to believe in yourself, what you're ultimately saying then is, I'm gonna let other people grade my paper. Part of Johnny's charm is that he doesn't care if somebody else grades his paper.
The 41-year-old Depp followed Pirates of the Caribbean with a typically eclectic roster of film roles. Some were made to satisfy his own search for offbeat adult movie making, like the Stephen King thriller Secret Window and the Robert Rodriguez action drama Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Other projects were geared toward his goal to make films that his children and entire families could enjoy. In the fact-based drama Finding Neverland, Depp earned raves playing Peter Pan author J.M. Barrie opposite Kate Winslet and Dustin Hoffman. Depp strongly related to the story of a man who uses the power of his imagination to create a better world for himself and the people he loves. And in Peter Pan, Barry's story of the ultimate lost boy, Johnny recognized another kindred spirit.
The work itself is just, it's really truly a work of pure genius. I mean, it's just, it's absolutely a masterpiece. An incredible work of imagination.
When you look at his body of work, you know that, there's a child within him so much alive, and I was looking for someone who sort of is the fifth child in a group.
Johnny next re-teamed with Tim Burton for their fourth big-screen collaboration. In 2005's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Depp played another legendary eccentric, mysterious candy manufacturer Willy Wonka, who gives a select group of children a golden ticket tour of his emporium. Depp and Burton set out to make a film more faithful to author Roald Dahl's classic novel than the previous movie version, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, starring Gene Wilder. And while their film honored the book, Depp's Willy Wonka was a startling and slightly dangerous original. Critics were divided over his flamboyant characterization, but it was further proof of the fearlessness that was Johnny Depp's trademark. That same summer, the actor gave a charming vocal performance in Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Depp played a shy young man who finds love in a local graveyard when he accidentally pledges his heart to a lonely corpse. Johnny celebrated the film's release with a time-honored Hollywood tradition, putting his hand and footprints in cement at Grauman's Chinese Theater.
I'm honored and so thankful, so grateful that all you guys, yeah, you should applaud for yourselves, you know. That's for you, for sticking around with me on this really long, strange road.
He's very thoughtful, and to be such a hugely recognized and appreciated actor and movie star that he is, and to still be, you know, not caught up in his own world and to be thinking of others, I think it was a really great example for me.
For Johnny Depp, movie stardom and creative risk-taking were no longer clashing ideas. He could do both in a single film, a fact he was about to prove once again, thanks to a second pirate's journey to the Caribbean.
What is it that has Jack spooked? How much do you know about Davy Jones?
You owe me your soul, and it's time to pay up.
In 2006, 43-year-old Johnny Depp reached another milestone in his two-decade acting career, the release of his first movie sequel. Johnny had agreed to star in not one, but two sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean for a rumored salary of over $37 million. First to reach screens was Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. It reunited Depp with co-stars Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom. This time, Jack Sparrow was on the hunt for a supernatural treasure chest while trying to bargain back his soul from legendary sea ghost Davy Jones, played by Bill Nighy.
Have you not met Will Turner? He's a noble, heroic, terrific soprano. Worth at least 4, maybe 3.5. And did I happen to mention he's in love with a girl due to be married, betrothed. Dividing him from her and her from him would only be half as cruel as actually allowing them to be joined in holy matrimony. Aye.
He's done something quite remarkable, and I think this performance is a major comic performance. I don't think it, I know it is. It's entered the language in a way that very few performances do.
Come to join me, crew, lad. Welcome aboard.
I'm here to find the man I love.
I'm deeply flattered, son, but my first and only love is the sea.
I mean, the idea that he's 42 and looks that good, it's completely outrageous. I mean, outrageous. It's awful when you know you have to have a 2-shot with him.
There will come a moment when you have the chance to do the right thing.
I love those moments. I like to wave at them as they pass by.
Johnny Depp, the ultimate iconoclast, was now a commercial brand. His image could be seen on everything from action figures to candy to cereal boxes.
It's classic Johnny. Yes, you'd run away from the obvious and then, however old he is, decide that you're going to be part of this huge franchise and have your face on a toothbrush packet or something. I don't know. I mean, it's hilarious. It's almost like he just makes fun of the whole thing. He's got that kind of pirate spirit.
The Pirates of the Caribbean films also allowed the actor to do work that pleased not only himself, but also his growing children. More than anything, Depp now felt that his chief responsibility was as a father.
I think it's our responsibility as parents to do our best to shield our children from the harsh realities of the world, and to allow our children to be children for as long as humanly possible, you know, because it happens so quick that you become an adult and the responsibility's weight gets, you know, is thrown on your shoulders.
It transforms people, and you can see that kind of like peace that's washed over his face when he looks at his children. It's like he's found his way home.
All you want to do is just spend time with your kids, you know. You just want to hang out with them and do stuff with them, you know. So, you know, if you end up playing Barbies for 12 hours, okay, that's cool, you know, why not?
Don't call me sport, all right? I hate that.
Johnny Depp has found his own path to stardom by defying the rules and by embracing the outcast inside all of us.
We're about to embark on quite a journey.
He threw away all the rule books. and just did what he wanted to do and liked doing, he's created his perfect world.
Johnny Depp ruled the high seas and the box office when Captain Jack Sparrow set sail in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, released in the summer of 2007. In this most recent installment of the billion-dollar franchise, the Rolling Stones' Keith Richards came on board as Jack's father, Teague Sparrow. The pairing made perfect sense, as the guitarist's iconic swagger was an initial inspiration for Depp's swashbuckling sea captain. Never content with mere blockbuster glory, Depp continues to take on the quirky roles that have come to define him. As 2007 was drawing to a close, Depp delighted Sweeney Todd fans with his portrayal of the title character in Tim Burton's film adaptation of the Broadway musical. Depp garnered an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe win for the performance. In July 2009, Depp played the Depression-era bank robber John Dillinger in the crime drama Public Enemies. Depp's latest project is the 2010 remake of Alice in Wonderland. In it, he plays the Mad Hatter and once again teams up with longtime friend and collaborator Tim Burton. Now, more than 20 years into a career that has defied all conventional wisdom, Johnny Depp has used intelligent acting and uncompromising instincts to forge a singular path